In 2016, Super Rugby is expanding. A proposal has been announced by SANZAAR that will see a new format and 3 new teams. But ask yourself, rugby fans, how much do I know about all of this? And will it be an improvement, or will it in fact be to the detriment of this great competition? So what is the proposed new format? Super Rugby currently has 15 teams divided across 3 conferences. The proposal is to expand the competition to include 3 more teams: a 6th South African team, an Argentinian team, and an Asian team. Here's how the proposal works. There will now be 2 groups, Africa and Australasia. In each group, there will be 2 conferences. There will be 4 teams in each South African conference, 5 in the Australian conference, and 5 in the New Zealand conference. Therefore, to fill these groups, all 3 new teams will be added to the African group. Teams will play 6 matches within their own conference, 4 matches against the other conference from the same group, and 5 matches against the other group. That's pretty complicated, no? Well, we're only just getting started. To decide the 8 teams that qualify for the playoffs, we take the 4 conference winners. Then we will look at a combined Australasia table to pick 3 wildcard spots. And then 1 more wildcard team will come from the combined African table. The seeding of the playoffs will then be decided based on a combined overall table, which for the record is the 7th table required to work all of this out. So if you're following this, well done. If you're not, that's completely understandable, and that's because this new format is incredibly complex. In fact, if anything, it's too complex and it's going to turn fans off Super Rugby. But that's the proposal put forward by SANZAAR, and if all goes to plan, that's what rugby fans are facing for not just 2016, but several seasons thereafter. So now let's try to work out why we'd need this complicated new structure in the first place. No one would argue that another South African team and an Argentinian team are justified. Not only do they have a sufficient rugby following, but they'd be good enough to win games. An Asian team, on the other hand, that's up for debate. Obviously, SANZAAR are thinking about the potential to grow their books in the Asian market, and hence a Japanese bid is currently the preferred of the 2 options on the table. So let's look at Japan. In November 2014, Japan was ranked 11th in the world. The end-of-year squad had only 2 players that play in professional leagues outside of Japan. To their credit, they were competitive against the New Zealand Māori in the second of 2 matches. However, you can't ignore that in the first match, played in Japan, they lost 61-21. Remember too that the New Zealand Māori team doesn't feature the 34 best players from New Zealand who were on All Blacks duties at the time. So realistically, what chance does a Japanese franchise really have against the current Super Rugby franchises? How would they go against the likes of the Crusaders, who have 15 All Blacks, the Waratahs, who have 15 Wallabies, or God forbid, against the Bulls, who have 20 Springboks? Sure, they could recruit a heap of foreigners, but is that really a Japanese franchise, and will the Japanese public really get behind a team that is in no way Japanese? But let's take a step back now, and instead of slagging off the expansion, let's put forward an alternative. Let's take the current format, nice and easy to understand, and let's simply add 3 teams to that. Another South African team, the Argentinian team can go in the Australian conference, and here's the big one, a Pacific Islands team in the New Zealand conference. For playoffs, the top 2 from each conference qualify, and a combined table gives us seeding and 2 wildcard spots. Simple. But back it up a step, I can hear you say. A Pacific Islands team? You couldn't base a team in Samoa, Fiji or Tonga. Well, you're right. So let's base it in Auckland, the largest Polynesian city in the world. Each team will have 8 home games a year, and this team would choose to play several home games away from home. For instance, 3 games in Auckland, 1 in Apia, Nuku'alofa and Suva, and then 1 game on the Gold Coast and another one in Sydney. Just think how the fans would flock to see this team, and how you and I, as rugby fans, would be rewarded with exciting and competitive rugby. Now, to verify all that with numbers, in 2011, Samoa played Fiji in Auckland, and 60,000 people showed up. Let's compare that with when Japan played the All Blacks in 2013, and only 20,000 people showed up in Tokyo. So here we have an opportunity to really help Pacific Island rugby. The NZRU is taking a test to Apia in 2015, but surely this is a case of give a man a fish and feed him for a day. Give the Pacific Islands a Super Rugby franchise and watch them beat teams like England in years to come. So to sum it all up, SANZAAR has a decision to make. They can go ahead with their proposal and they can chase the yen. But in doing so, they'll resign us as rugby fans to an overly complex format, a lower quality of rugby, and a missed opportunity to help rugby in the Pacific. To put it simply, it will have to be a lot of yen to justify all that. Have a think about that. And if you're a Super Rugby fan, then head to futureofsuperrugby.com to read more. Share this on Facebook, and most importantly, encourage some debate. Because whatever SANZAAR settles on, we as rugby fans will have to watch this competition for the next 4 years.